Are you looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/bluewire and use code BLUEWIRE. That's code BLUEWIRE at prizepicks.com/bluewire for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.
Hey guys, welcome to Mavs Party. This is Kirk Henderson, editor-in-chief of MavsMoneyBall.com. We are hosting the Spotify Live at about 10:45 on Monday, December 12th, for those of you listening in the future. The Mavericks held off the Oklahoma City Thunder in what was a shockingly back-and-forth game, which the Mavericks took control of for most of the game, but the Thunder just would not go away, no matter how many points the Mavericks scored, no matter how many times Luka Doncic answered with a bucket of his own, the Thunder would come right back. And, you know, I honestly just kind of talked with Josh, not really sure what to take away from this game, because in broad strokes, winning is good. And you know, Luka played. That was good. Maxey played. That was really good. Josh Green did not play. His absence is going to be felt eventually. There were moments of it tonight, like every time Frank Ntilikina touched the ball and did something weird. But, you know, we'll see. All right, so you guys know the drill. Invite yourself up on stage. Let's get off our takes, and then maybe let's go to bed early, because they play the Cleveland Cavaliers on Wednesday, and for some reason that game starts at 8 p.m. Dallas time, which makes no sense to me. But what do I know? Maybe there's a hockey game going on. So right now we don't have too many speaker requests, so if you got something you want to say, now's an ideal time to hop up on stage. So coming up first is my man Chris.
Hey, good. How you doing?
I'm okay, you know. Honestly, like losing fantasy football matchups, that was kind of my, like that nightmare of a Pats Cardinals game just crushed me. I'm in like 12 leagues because I love fantasy football, and I ended up losing like 4 of them just because of that game.
That's funny. And yeah, talk about the Cavs. They lost by 1 against the Spurs tonight, so hopefully they're not pissed.
Wild. God, losing to the Spurs is hard.
We haven't even played them yet, have we? I don't think we have. But yeah, I'm just glad we're not playing the Thunder more than 3 times this year. We only play them one more time, and sometime later this year we'll go to OKC. But they are one team. They're the true test of a team that you think is bad, that you can never let up on them. Like the entire game, even the last minute. I mean, it looked like they were going on a run there when we were up by 11 at one point, and it seemed maybe you dropped it down to like 7 points or something. But you never know. They just don't quit. Credit to them. I mean, I like that, but they're very annoying to play against. And it seems like Dort. I mean, he didn't really play all that great this game, but it seems like all the times we watch the Thunder play, Dort's always like hitting threes on us. But dang, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's crazy good, man. I wish we had him as our second playmaker on the team. That'd be awesome.
Well, and I understand why people were kind of skeptical of his game, but he's really good. He's special.
Yeah, he's crafty to he just knows how to get to the basket. I mean, and obviously his free throw, he's like 93% from the free throw line, so he
has not missed an and one this season.
Wow.
That is a crazy stat for me, at least.
Yeah, and that team, that's just crazy how many draft. I mean, they got like 1,000 draft picks coming up, and they can go so many different ways, and it's just sad with our team. Like, I don't really know what they're going to do next summer. I mean, none of us really know. But yeah, with Frank Ntilikina playing, I mean, Jesus Christ, like he's
just not good. He's not a good basketball player. I don't care how good his defense is. There's like if you can't score the ball, if you're like I think he's like one of his last 10 from the floor. I can't handle watching him, and I know some people really like him. He's just not for me. I mean, I don't really get a say in this, so I guess it doesn't matter.
I'm kind of surprised. I mean, why? I guess all the Mavs fans are thinking, why haven't they thrown out Hardy again? I mean, he's already
tonight for defensive purposes. Like the Thunder are rangy and long, and I think Hardy might have gotten. There's some kind of debate on how big Hardy is. He does have quite the wingspan, but he's still, if anything, he's 6'3", 6'4". Like he's Lou Dort tight. So.
But with the Mavs hitting 22 threes, but they took like a million, like
54. So they hit a 40% clip.
Yeah, I mean they're just live by the three, die by the three, and it's just it's sad that whenever we're 25% or whatever one night and then missing 10 free throws, I mean it doesn't matter how much Luka scores. Like we're just not going to. Our defense and the team, I don't know what they can do to improve on that. I mean, just our defense is horrible, and if we're not clicking. Obviously, on the 3-point line, I mean, we're going to have these games.
Defense is not, so the numbers are better than it feels like with the eye test because they do some things pretty well. It's tonight they out rebounded the Thunder, which helps. I mean, that was kind of the saving grace, particularly on the offensive end.
Yeah.
So it's
it could just be going against the teams that are like quick on in transition, especially if maybe Luke is complaining about something or. If we're not making our threes, then it seems like a team just goes back real quick and just makes a layup on us. But it's good. This is the first test right here. Beat a bad team, beat a team that you're supposed to beat. And actually, the Thunder really aren't a bad team. They just have a bunch of unknowns that can play. So Isaiah Joe and we all know who Dort is, but there's another one.
Dort had kind of a rough night. Like Dort, but his shooting is weird. If you were to like click his game log, he has particularly terrible shooting nights, and him and Giddey kind of secretly help like stealth tank them at times. But Luka, I think loves and hates going against Dort because Dort just beats the hell out of him.
You got hammered so many plays. I've got to, and I was trying to think about this team, and I think we are worse off this year than what we were last year because last year you could make those excuses. Luka coming in out of shape,
didn't play most
injuries,
of
COVID.
December.
Yeah, this year we had an easy ass schedule going into the season. Nobody has been injured yet, really. Yeah. I mean, there's been no COVID misses. I mean, really, it sucks, but it is what it is. We are where we are. You're just gonna have to grind out wins. I mean, the West is wide open too. So just keep trying to win wins and go from there. But yeah, hopefully we can get another win on Wednesday. And I'll be at that game, like I said, on Friday. So hopefully we definitely.
Which are they playing Friday?
The Trailblazers.
That'll be a fun game.
Yeah. I think that the last time I saw them in the Trailblazers go against, it was the first time. I was one of the season openers a few years ago when they first started doing the challenging. We were like the first team that ever that lost against a challenge. I can't remember how that game ended. I just remember that the other team challenged it, and it was not in our favor, and we ended up losing the game by like 1 or 2 points. So, yeah, that was the game I went to. So.
All right, man. Hopefully we'll talk a little later this week, okay?
Yes, sir. Have a good day. Okay.
All right, talk soon. All right, coming up next, we got Rain. Welcome back, Rain. How you doing? Give Rain a second. He's probably – I haven't called on him this early. We don't have anybody that want to talk tonight. So we'll see how things go. How you doing? It's not letting Rain talk at the moment. Give him a second to figure out the audio. Rain, I'm gonna punch you and then invite yourself back up, and we'll see if we can figure this out. Random notes in the chat. 16 rebounds on the offensive end is a lot, which is the case. Particular offensive rebounds is certainly the thing. Rain, how you doing? Let's try this again.
All right, how's it going this time?
Good. Thank you.
Good. Well, I missed about half the game, so I have no idea what happened in the first half. But to piggyback a little bit from what was said before, what are we doing playing Frank Ntilikina? I know that Jalen Hardy probably would have been eaten tonight, but I'm kind of the opinion that you need to let that happen a little bit just so we can learn how to work around that.
Sure.
On top of that, I think something we managed to win on the rebounding, which is kind of astounding, but I don't know how with playing 5-out offense with a bunch of not particularly athletic dudes that we can ever really be a good offensive rebounding team if we don't have people that can sprint in to get that ball after it bounces. Josh Green can do so.
Green and Dorian are about it. Dorian had 5 offensive rebounds and no defensive rebounds.
Yeah, so with the amount of athleticism we have, it does look a bit difficult to me. On top of that, let's just hope THJ continues this heater he's on and builds up his value enough that he might be a movable, not even necessarily a positive asset, just not a negative asset, so we can, fool someone else into thinking that he's okay and use him as just a contract.
Sure.
Beyond that, he's capable of putting up 20, but he has to hit 8 threes to do so. And Wood played, from what I saw today, pretty terribly, beyond that little stretch at the end. But I will say, at the end of the day, Wood can do more than put up a bunch of threes. And if he's not shooting, he can attack the basket. Even if today his decision-making on his shots was not the best. A number of times it looked like he could have tried to go past his man, but instead he decided to just take a jump shot. Don't understand it, but it is what it is. We got the win, and I guess we'll just live with it.
Yeah, I mean that's realistically. So I like those of us who participate in something like this. It's one of these things where we are frustrated with how the team is going. We are frustrated with elements of the process. But at the end of it, you would still take a win that you don't have a ton to say over a loss every day of the week. We want them to win.
1000%. Although, I mean, despite how the Bucks game went, watching it back, there was a lot of positive to take back. It's just, if we could hit some fucking free throws, holy shit.
I thought they did better tonight. I just had the box score pulled up. Let me pull it back up.
I think they were, last I checked, it was 18 of 21.
That's not, I'll take that compared to some of the stuff they've done prior. 18 to 21 is not bad.
If we hit, that percentage, that Bucks game would have been a wash.
But, 100%. I mean, that was you're I don't know if you saw this, just because I'm guessing your day's on a different path than us, but Mark Cuban made news this morning in America. I mean, news is kind of a strong term, but he basically exchanged some messages with Dallas Morning News' Brad Townsend and basically made note of the correct fact that if the Mavericks had just hit some more free throws, they would have won 5 more games. And it frustrated me in the sense of he's 100% correct, but it felt like just every time he's in the news, I cringe because I'm just why? No, is any other owner doing this? But he was right. He's right about this. The free throws is a really simple thing. I don't think any of our other criticisms are somehow lacking just because the free throws, if we're honest, they're all Luka. Almost all of them are Luka. Luka hits one more of his 4 of 10 the other night, then this is a different deal. As mad as we were at Jimmy and Reggie, those guys, or I'm sorry, Dorian, those guys weren't, those are their first free throws. So.
No, 100% agree. I also saw he said something else about, what's his name? Giannis and the violation of free throws.
That was such whining. But, I get it, but it's also that's not why we lost. We lost because they missed 7. They missed 8 free throws in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and in hindsight, we should have known the game was also a wash the minute their best player went out because we can't play when the opposing team is missing their best player. Right. But on top of that, maybe we might be in the part of the year where Reggie remembers that he is actually a pretty good basketball player and can actually shoot. Holy shit. if we can, if we can go back in those previous games and plug him in to hit 2, maybe 3, maybe 3-pointers, we also probably win another couple more games. But I also go back and hate the argument, if we just make one more 3, it's like, well, maybe we should be able to put up more than just a hope and a prayer. That would be nice when we have possibly the best basketball player in the world on the team. So yeah, where do we go from here? Same as we've always said.
This is a wild stat for you. Reggie, tonight was Reggie's just 4th game of the season where he has hit 3 or more 3-pointers. That's for as much as he's played and for as many threes as he's taken, that's kind of wild to me. Kind of wild. But, like you said, I would rather him start to turn the corner.
Yep. I mean, it is December. From what I saw, he typically heats up more towards January, but hey, maybe he'll start a little bit earlier.
I'll take signs of
We'll
life.
take it.
Yeah.
We'll take
I
it.
expect him to hit 40% every game. I just want to see something that gives me hope towards the future, and I think tonight's game was an example of that.
I also think tonight was another example of how much impact Green has that doesn't show up in the box score. Towards the end, things just got messy, very messy, and that is where
predictable
Green excels.
Mm-hmm. Green is like that X factor where you don't really know what's going to happen. I felt like those turnovers were on their way. It was really painful to watch, too.
It definitely was, and also we had a good game from Spencer. He's been feeling a little bit down a little bit lately, but we'll take him back on the rise.
That's right. Great Spencer game. You're right about that. Near triple-double. So
yeah, 10 assists. I missed the first half, so I don't know how many turnovers he really had, but almost makes up for the turnovers he had in the last 2 games. But yeah, as we've always said, maybe if Wood could start. I see a lot of people talking on Reddit about maybe we should go for the guy on the Hawks, but he and Wood are basically the same dude, minus a little bit of offense for defense, vice versa.
That was a contract to take on, too. I don't really see how
it's a big contract. Possible. It's a lot of assets to bring him back on. Sorry for talking over you there.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. Hey, it's 3 p.m. and I don't have to be depressed for the rest of the day. So that's a nice feeling.
Well, good, man. We'll talk soon. I hope you come back on one of these games. Got a couple more, so we'll talk soon, all right?
All right, talk soon. See you then.
All right, let's go next with Tom. Hi, Tom. Welcome back.
Hey, Kirk. You got me?
I do. Welcome to the show.
Hey, just wondering, I've heard you sort of speaking about Spencer's passing being a bit off in a few of your most recent podcasts, and I've sort of heard it's either Nick or Isaac on the Locked On saying they've just noticed his assist rate going gradually up over the last, couple of weeks or so. And with today's 10 assist game, and he could have had a couple more, I think, where Dwight missed in that first quarter a couple of good dunks. Do you think Spencer's finally maybe starting to get a bit more of that playmaking ability at all? I've just sort of...
So this is a very good question, Tom. This is a very good question, and I think it's important to sort of make this distinction. When Spencer's running the offense and driving and kicking, it's a matter of whether his teammates are making shots, just like with Luka. What I witnessed when I talk about whether Spencer can pass, the oops that he threw to Dwight Powell were atrocious. He's and granted, Luka may have spoiled me. Throwing alley-oops is an art. So I'm being a bit of a prick about it, but it's just kind of wild to me because the way the offense schemes, if you get deep enough, what Luka does for Powell is basically throw the ball right over the rim so we can go in. And what we've seen with Spencer a number of times is he misses it by about 6 inches, which, again, I'm being kind of hypercritical here, but it's enough to where it's like, yeesh. Now, what I will say is I'm glad that he's trying, because I do think that with enough practice, in-game situations, maybe they start to connect.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think he's starting to do it a bit, go for those oops a bit more, and I don't know. I feel like they're getting closer, but yeah, you might be right. Maybe those ones were just a bit off to Dwight, and that's why he couldn't get those 2 jams in the first
Well, I'll
quarter
remember
there.
this for the rest of my life. When Luka was a rookie, he and DeAndre Jordan could not connect on alley-oops. It was rough for a while. And now look at what Luka does. So I just think it's a matter of practice. Like, these guys are so skilled. I'm pretty hopeful. It's just when he misses one badly, it really upsets me.
Oh yeah, it's hard to watch, especially after seeing Luka like throw them up out of nowhere and just in the perfect spot.
That's right.
All right, that's about all I've got, Kirk. Thanks for having me on.
Sure. Thanks, Tom. Talk soon. Okay, we're talking longer than I thought. This is nice. Let's go to Brandon. How are we doing?
Kirk, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm okay. It's these Monday games, they always kind of throw me for a loop because I'm just like getting through the day, and then it's 4 more hours of work basketball.
Yeah, I kind of wondered the players if they rather play coming off of the weekend like on a Monday, if they rather play going into a weekend like on a Saturday early.
I bet these dudes are just
playing.
thrilled to not have back-to-backs because, like, the Mavericks played Friday, Saturday after playing, I want to say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's like these guys are playing a ton of basketball this month. They have 17 games in December.
It seemed like it's totally different than what last year. It seemed like they had a lot of stretches between when they played. I would be like, man, when are these guys playing? Or I would look and I wouldn't see many back-to-backs. But this year, it's like back-to-back spaced and another back-to-back. So I guess
that's a good question. I wonder if they're getting a lot of them out of the way because I feel like we just went through 2 back-to-backs. They have another this Friday and Saturday, and I feel like they played a number in what was it? Yeah, there's one here in October. There's another in November. Yeah, so it's interesting. That's in because my understanding was at one point in time they really don't want teams to have more than like 12 to 14 back-to-backs. The Mavericks have played at least 6, and we're only halfway through December.
I kind of wonder with the Mavericks season not being, I guess, as competitive or as exciting as the other teams in the division, if NBA would ever consider flexing games like the NFL flex games to put more competitive teams on prime time.
They do, but they have to wait until football is done. So if you were to like check the Lakers schedule, and if they're not like they have a ton of backloaded NBA TV or like NBA national television games starting like February 10th or so, those start to get flexed off. But right now it's certainly not the case, which like it drove me nuts last year when the Mavericks they got waxed on national TV. I want to say at one point in time they had lost like 9 straight national TV games. It was just awful to cover them because it's like, cool, hey, because it's like the Christmas Day game last year was Jalen Brunson and Kristaps Porzingis leading the way against the Jazz, and they got the shit kicked out of them. It's like that was fun. So we'll see more. I mean, the Mavericks at the moment they actually have a pretty good amount of national TV games second half of the year. It's nice.
I mean, and to me, it's like whenever they play on ABC, it sucks because I'm like, these dudes don't even watch the Mavericks, so they'll find a point and just go all over it. I'm like, man,
sure,
it's going to be terrible. The way that they just make the Mavericks seem like the freaking Washington Generals, but it's terrible. But I mean, I think today it kind of showed that the Mavericks. I kind of have to give, in a way, kids some credit because I noticed that I was looking at the shots and I noticed that they weren't taking the same type of shots in the second half as they were in the first half. I mean, they still shot a lot of threes, but it seemed like they were more where they were shooting at was more consistent in the second half. But it's still not a lot of in-game adjustments with these guys, and I kind of have to believe that, you know, in a kid's defense in some ways, because I mean, you just can't. They don't have the talent to adjust. And just like the last quarter. I mean, to me, if the Thunders had good defenders and they would have blitzed the Mavericks, they could have, like on a full court press, they could have made it hard for those guys to, you know, to get past half court. Because I remember in the playoff time, I believe when they were playing the Clippers one time, the Clippers had blitzed them, and Tim and a couple of guys were having a hard time coming off a half court.
Yeah. So a friend of mine that has more that writes for 538 has more advanced data at his fingertips shared with me that Luka actually gets picked up the furthest from the basket more frequently than any other player in the NBA. Like, he gets picked up on average at half court. So because the basketball court's 90 feet long, I think that's right, 94 feet long. So he gets picked up at around 48 feet. Almost every time, which, like, Curry gets picked up at like 45 feet, something like that. So the goal with most teams is to try to wear Luka down and make him pass it to other guys. I think that what you just suggested is probably a smart, but the flip side is you have to have the defenders that can actually do it. Lou Dort is one who can do it. Like, that dude reminds me of like a psychotic middle linebacker. He was just all up on Luka the whole time. Really effective stuff.
A pest. And it seemed like when Luka has those pests on him, it's kind of hard for him. But you may remember this game. I believe they were playing the Clippers, and it was like the fourth quarter. And it was a couple of 10-second violations called on the Mavs because they couldn't get it past half court. And I'm like, man, I believe Tim was in the game. It could have been Jalen that was in the game as well, too, one of the games where he wasn't playing very well. And I was like, man, it's just they were really exposed. And I'm kind of surprised that teams didn't really, don't really just like expose the Mavs ball handling by trying to
push them more often. I agree.
Push them more often.
I really agree, because there was one play towards the final 2 minutes where Reggie had to dribble from like the corner to half court.
Yeah.
And it needed like Benny Hill music, because he's just not a confident dribbler.
Yeah. Throw him and Frank in the backcourt is going to be trouble.
Woo!
Yeah. But and one more thing, I just feel like, Josh Green, he kind of, is developing. And if you think about some of the old school greats that really just like kind of reinvented themselves, like, I mean, he'll never be a Scottie Pippen, but just him, for example, if you remember, Scottie wasn't a good outside shooter. He wasn't good at slashing, right. But over a while, he kind of developed that baby skyhook from the free throw line, and he got kind of nice with that mid-range J. Even Sean Marion, whenever he lost his ups, he kind of.
I know which shot you're talking about. It was like a 10-foot turnaround that was weird as shit.
Yeah,
I loved watching it every time.
Yeah, he took a page out of Kareem's book, but and guys like that, they kind of just worked on their crafts and developed themselves. And I'm kind of like, that's what some of the older guys like Dorian, them, they gotta think outside the box and think about how they can reinvent themselves, because they're not getting any better doing the same thing.
That's true. Though I will say, I think Dorian over the last 3 seasons has gotten a lot better going off the dribble. Whereas I remember like Luka's second year where he really started to break out in shooting. I was like, okay, that's all he can do. And then Kidd gave him some credit, some freedom last year to slash to the basket. He's had some nice like rim rock and dunks, but any sort of like offensive stuff where it's like, you got to be, there are certain guys in the Mavericks who it's like, if you want to give them the ball, they have to be dribbling with a direction. Because it's like if Dorian puts the ball on the floor and like sizes somebody up, it's like, oh no.
I think Dorian worked really hard to get to where he's at. If you remember, people kind of looked at him as, and it was kind of crazy how they just considered him to be like a high energy guy that just come out and just run around and really didn't have a role, just give him good minutes and just a clap. But now he kind of, he was like a 2-point a minute guy, play like 15 minutes. Him and Maxey were just like, I guess, high energy guys, but they created their own style. Maxey became a defender, and Dorian became, kind of, I guess what you want to call a 3-and-D guy, which, his rookie year and that second year, probably wouldn't imagine it from him or even from Maxey.
Well, I watched Dorian shoot like 1 billion 3-pointers at 2 summer leagues, and I was ready to cut bait, which he was 23, maybe he was like 24 at that time.
Yeah.
And then he comes into Luka, and then the last third of the year, I think he goes from shooting like it's like kind of low 30s, and all of a sudden he's hitting 38% from 3. And then he starts off the next year. That was the year the Mavericks started off with KP, him and Luka and KP looking amazing. Mm-hmm. And Dorian started off kind of rough, and then he just found it again and sort of has never looked back. I mean, Dorian has been probably other than, like obviously drafting Luka and Brunson, Dorian has probably been the Mavericks' single biggest success in terms of front office, both, free agency drafting, because he was an undrafted guy.
Yeah.
I can't think of really anybody else in the last 10 years other than Dorian.
JJ wasn't drafted by
JJ was, but if you think back to it, JJ was drafted an undrafted free agent guy in like 2006.
Yeah.
He was with the team for a long time.
Went to Minnesota and came back, but yeah, Dorian. And that's one last thing. Rick, I mean, to credit him, like I said before, he's not super at developing people, but what he did to a lot of those teams, to make something out of nothing was kind of, a testimony of his ability to coach. Like I said, he would micromanage timeouts and call sets and kind of take the guys' confidence away whenever they could probably play back through it. But to what he did, kind of like you said about Tim, they gave him a job and Tim will fulfill it. And I think a lot of that attributes that they have now goes back to, Rick really making them guys good at what they can do.
Yeah. Well, this has been fun. You got anything else?
Nah, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure. Talk soon. Be back here on Wednesday because I can't. Every time I'm like, I don't know if I want to do one of these tonight. Then I'm like, I'm gonna have a bunch of people mad at me if I don't.
This is advertiser content brought to you by Frito-Lay.
Hello, I'm Chip Murphy, here to get you ready for the big tournament. Tonight we break down who will be cutting. Cut! What are you two doing?
Sorry, Chip. Prez here got his feathers ruffled when I told him Ruffles has zero chance of winning the title.
And I was letting Dip know that she is not taking into account Ruffles' iconic ridges.
Guys, it's March. We have to start talking about the tournament.
We are. It is the 2023 Frito-Lay Snack It.
We're talking about big-time matchups between Cheetos, Smart Food, Lay's, Sun Chips, and more.
Just head to the Frito-Lay Snack Bracket and vote for your favorite chip, pretzel, or dip for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks.
This sounds great. Keep up the good work.
Just go to fritolaysnackit.sbnation.com. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends 4/3/2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnackit.sbnation.com.
Frank, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, can you hear me?
Frank, you there?
Yeah, I got you.
There we are.
I'll keep it quick. You were talking about hearing Cuban talk about if we made a few more free throws. I think Chuck Cooper's team came out with like a more official thing. If we had just hit league average, whatever it was like 76.8 or 78.6, blah, 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 that we would have 5 more wins.
Yep.
And then one of the games would have went to overtime. So that's a toss-up based on that. So that puts us like tied for second or first, which I know is just – but I'm just elaborating on what.
Sure. No, it's worth pointing out. I mean, my sort of counter to that is that the I want to say that the Memphis Grizzlies might be the worst free throw percentage team in the league. Yeah, and they're doing just fine.
We are the worst, like clutch or fourth quarter or something. We're the worst in the league when it comes to the fourth quarter.
Yeah, which I mean, it's still relatively small sample size. So it's like they can get it together, but like the uncomfortable element of
is it though? It's 25% of the way to the season.
Well, but the it comes back to the fact that it's all Luka. Like when Luka shoots, 10 of the 24 or whatever it is you shoot per game, and if he's off, then it drags the percentages down, and he's been ass.
Indeed, yeah. And then Cuban made me think you were talking about him. Have you or Mavs Moneyball? Are you guys trying like getting him back on, or is he just like ignoring all else? Is he leaving?
No, I don't ask. He asked me last time. That's a good question. He asked me, and, I've got a lot of heat for not being an unruly dick to him, which is just, I'm not an asshole to people. I'm an asshole about things. And I don't, I would chat with him again, I suppose, but I don't want to get into an argument with the owner of the team. Like that doesn't serve either of us, If he would spend a little less time worrying about local media and a little more time worrying about making the team better, everybody would be happier.
Yeah. Do you buy into like when people post those screenshots of like, this person, this high profile person liked this dumb tweet or something? Do you buy into that, or do you think that stuff screenshot?
I think no. Cuban loves using Twitter as a means to highlight things he both agrees and disagrees.
Well, dude, he liked a tweet the other day. I'm sure you saw it, where it was like, "Get Luka help" or "Luka has no help." I don't know. I'm like, did he?
He disagrees with that. I feel pretty confident in that. Like, Mark wants to make the team better. Like, I'm not that asinine about it. It's like they had a plan set out in 2020, which was to keep cap space open and figure out a way to go sign Giannis and not flood their books. And in 2022, they don't have Giannis, they don't have a second star, and they have really bad books. And so it's just like, man, they walked into the trap that they didn't want to set for them.
Well, dude, you're incredibly profound, and at my request, you guys should totally be trying to get him back on there. I know you guys talked about kind of botching. You guys punted the first one. He probably caught you guys off.
My son's birthday. My wife was so fucking mad at me that I was doing this.
Indeed. Yeah, but it'd be great to hear you guys give it. Not really give it to him, but I mean, like, don't not say what you want to say, because not that you didn't, but just.
No, I didn't. It's like my question would have been like, explain why you kept Donnie Nelson on staff when he was utterly unprepared for 2019 free agency and then stormed out of the draft room in 2020. Why did you try to extend him? He's not going to answer that. I wouldn't blame him.
No, of course not. That's like, yeah, I mean, they asked Jay Kidd, how did JaVale McGee? I thought he was good on offense. And he's not going to tank their value by telling you that. Just look at him. They'll pan. Okay, somebody throws the ball out of bounds and then they pan to him, and what he's doing, he's scratching his head like, oh my, like that. There's your that's the real answer when you see him scratching his head, and we talk about hands in the pocket, not coaching. He maybe, and I'm not to justify not being an active coach, but maybe he's just so fed up with how shitty of a roster he was handed. It's like, I get to coach Luka, but then you also have to try to dig these guys up with no skill out of the mud. So he's just getting frustrated because he's obviously an asshole. He's just doing a lot better job as a.
For sure. Kid's hilarious about that sort of stuff.
But,
well, thanks so much, Frank. Anything else?
No, man. Have a good night. See ya.
All right. Talk soon. Let's go to Logan. Hey, Logan, what's going on?
How's it going?
Just enjoying a beverage. Probably shouldn't be having a beverage. You got to work in the morning. But what are you going to do?
Yeah. So I thought it's interesting that, like, what you think would be missing with Josh Green, I guess you can say is missing, whatever, like energy, some wing defense, right? Like his best traits. But what's funny is the Mavs have so much of a need for like connective passing and guys putting the ball on the ground and attacking, that like, even though that's like his thing that he's developing, which this kind of goes back to, you've said before, like if he's this important, that's really bad. But I just think it's funny that like even more glaring than the defense and the energy is like that he's he's like the third guy that makes passes and puts the ball on the floor besides Dinwiddie. And and that's why Frank had to put the ball on the floor a lot tonight. You're like, why would the guy playing Josh's minutes dribble that much? And it's like, oh wow, we have needed Josh to do that because he's like attacking screens a lot more, and just in general, like they're kind of like giving him leeway to do that. And he's kind of becoming one of those, I mean, like, the term connecting passers, and people think of like Lonzo Ball or like Joe Ingles, like those are like some of the really good ones. And I have a lot of faith he's going to end up being that, but I just think it really shows like the necessities of what some of the players have, but also just like what the roster lacks, that when you're missing him, you're like, oh wait, he is the third ball handler. No, even though we don't like that, like even though that's crazy, but it kind of proves itself out when he's not out there, because Frank was for a quarter.
What you're describing is what Jack Donaghy in 30 Rock described as the third heat for their GE convection oven. Josh Green is the third heat. And as much as it pains me to agree, I absolutely do. Because he just brings that little bit element of weird. He doesn't know what he doesn't know quite yet.
Yeah.
And the Mavericks need that.
Well, with Luka out there, it makes things a little bit, it's just kind of like a change-up pitch to the fastball. You know what I mean? It's kind of the opposite. He's the fastball, and then when Spencer's out there, it's like Spencer can't do this on his own. So, and like you were talking about Spencer's passing earlier, I mean, I kind of agree with you that just the driving kick stuff, he's fine, but it's not just the lobs. He just takes a long time to process what the hell's going on in front of him.
Shit.
He doesn't
that drives me crazy. Like, I used to think Brunson couldn't see stuff, but now I understand that Rick was basically like, hey, you're out here to score. And that was one of his beefs with Carlisle. But Spencer does not see passes. Like, it's really, like, it drives me crazy.
He would take so many sacks as a quarterback. Which I think the basketball version is there being like 8 seconds left and being like, I don't really know if this possession has a plan here, and it doesn't, or he couldn't see it. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's just like so clear with all this trade talk and stuff. Like if it's not go ahead.
Thank God I wasn't on the internet because look, I need to get this off my chest. So sorry, Logan. I love all y'all who love spending time coming up with fake trade shit. My homie Lauren Gunn enjoys doing that. There's a lot. Dalton loves doing it. Mavericks ain't trading for nobody ever. If they give up anything to go get a player for this season with this team, they deserve what's coming to them.
Yeah, I truthfully believe there will be no picks or Josh Green or Jaden Hardy involved in anything.
No. Nor should they at this point. Like, what? Unless the Mavericks are committed to getting worse, they shouldn't do anything.
I can see a role player swap type scenario.
Okay.
But all I was going to say was when it comes to the John Collins thing is like, if they don't just get a ball handler, decision maker, it's like malpractice. Like, it's so glaring. That's what they need. Me and my friends were watching the Pelicans, and they don't really have a pure point guard. And they started to have a couple possessions that went awry. Zion's getting the ball really late. And we're like, man, they need a table setter. But, like, they have, like, 3 guys averaging 5 assists. And it's like they have more passing than a team with Luka, who is the greatest passer. And you know what I mean? That's freaking crazy that, like, teams that don't even have, like, a primary initiator have more collective playmaking. And it's just like, I've always been really into that as like a concept of just like something that's important. And being a fan of this team has made it like, buddy, you had no idea how much you know what I mean? So.
Yeah. No, I do.
Yeah.
Well,
but that's all.
Thanks for hanging out.
I don't mean to be too negative. If we would have beat the Bucks, it set us back like 2 weeks. It just, we needed that one.
That was a historic loss in a season that has had at least 2 other historic losses. And we're only 25 games in. Well, that was the real rub.
It was really fun up until we lost. They were playing with a lot of energy, and we'd be 15-12. Like, I'd assume we'd lose in Chicago. And tonight would have seemed like, because I'm being really negative, but if we were to beat the Bucks tonight, would have been like, man, I'm glad we got out of that, weird Monday night with the Thunder. And instead, it's like, there's a lot of stuff we don't really like here. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's so different off of one, especially with the standings all crowded. But
sure. Well, thanks, Logan. We'll talk soon. All right.
Talk soon.
All right. Mr. Green, take us home. You're our last caller. Give you a second to find that unmute button.
G'day.
How you doing?
How are you, buddy?
Yeah, all right. You make our 3rd Southern Hemisphere caller this evening. Welcome.
Oh, we're setting a trend out here, mate.
I fucking love that. Australia's our fourth biggest downloader. I did some stat polling last night. Go ahead. So what do you think of this evening?
I want to give you a bold prediction of where we're heading for the rest of the year, mate. And it's firmly attached to Mark Cuban's wallet. So just having a quick look at the luxury tax situation, and we're over the cap. The fact that Christian Wood played 20 minutes and only got 8 points, and it's pretty obvious the kid doesn't want him on the team. So what I think we're going to do is I think we're going to offload Wood at the deadline, so we're only a few days away.
Where we can start, what you mean, for the deadline, yeah.
Yep. So I'd say that Wood's going. I'd say that Cuban wants the team under the salary cap, under the luxury tax.
Yes, okay.
So I dare say that I don't think Wood will be playing too many more games with us. I got a funny because we don't have a pick, do we? It's going to the Knicks. So there's no benefit for us to tank unless, is it a top 10 protected pick or something similar?
Yes.
So I don't think we can fall under that, but I'd say that Wood and some salary will be going, and I'd say that we're going to try and get some picks. I think we're going to write the rest of the season off and just see what we can do with the guys we've got. And I think that Bertons or Hardaway will probably accompany Wood.
I think we'll get Hardaway is like selling a house that's on fire. I don't know if you can. Like you've got to find a desperate buyer that thinks that it's like, honestly, I hate to be, this is wish casting, but I think like the Lakers and Hardaway make some sense because they need some damn shooting. Like they need a guy willing to take some shots. But I also think Hardaway's not the kind of guy they would actually trade for just because he's so damn inconsistent.
Yeah, I mean, look, no one's going to argue with the inconsistency part. But, man, I wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta do something as well, you know.
They're so weird.
It could be possible that Atlanta want a bit more shooting. They see Wood.
They miss Kevin Huerter.
Oh, do they ever? And, you know, I just don't have any good feelings about where we're at. I mean, Cuban's notoriously tight. We're in the luxury tax zone. The big signing that we used to clear salary, get rid of Boban and the bench crew, that hasn't worked out, or, we haven't given it a chance to work it out. I just don't have any good feelings about trying to strengthen our position. And, we've been playing very, very average. And the fact that we still have no offense, the fact that our proposed defense is, like a colander, it's just full of holes. It's just so embarrassing to walk. I mean, I know Shea's a great player, but he just walks through our defense that many times, especially after made baskets. So frustrating.
Yeah.
But, man, I think that we've got a rough 3 quarters of the season to go because, I think there's a big shake-up coming, and it's going to be in a way that none of us are going to feel good about.
Man, we're about to find out because it's. I keep looking at the schedule, and it's, they if they throw some things together, maybe I don't know. I just don't know. I hate it because it's on the one hand, so it's like looking ahead. So everybody knows this. We'll just talk about it. They go Cleveland, Portland, Cleveland, Minnesota, Houston, Los Angeles. That is tough on paper. But on the flip side, I think they could annihilate like the Wolves because the Wolves are just as fucking weird. And I think Portland is a facade of a team. Like when they're cooking, like Dame Lillard's apparently has hit like a bajillion threes tonight. You catch a team on the off night where the shooting's not working and the Mavericks can do some dangerous things. I mean, Cleveland, I think, is going to be a brutal awakening for the Mavericks because they're a huge, long team with guys in the paint. It's going to be tough for Luka to score. But, every time I sort of like doubt the team, Luka comes through. So maybe it's getting through the month of December with about 500, just like last year, and then hoping they can go on a little bit of a run.
Look, you've said it many times, to win 75% of your games, it's,
that's
so
impossible.
highly.
They're not winning 50 plus this year at this rate, but I do think they could finish 45 and 37, for example.
Yeah, they definitely don't look like a 50-win team this year. I mean, I know there's been some terrible losses, and it probably would be a lot different if you were to take 5 losses off our column and stick them in the W column. But the team is stagnant. We just don't have that talented person that can take the ball at the hoop apart from Spence and Luka, and we need 2 on the floor at all times, and that can't happen because there's the third guy's just not there.
That's right.
It's tough, man. Tough.
It is, but hey, at least we got to win tonight. Thanks for joining again.
Thanks, Kirk. Appreciate it, buddy.
Absolutely. I lied. We got one more caller. Addison, what's going on?
Hey, Kirk. How are we feeling, man?
I'm all right. Where are you calling in from again?
New Zealand.
Outstanding. Man, just
beautiful summer afternoon right here.
you make 4 Southern Hemisphere callers. I love this. So what's going on?
Let's go. Representing. Yeah, hey, I've just been seeing a lot of like online. Obviously, there's been some like rumors going out of guys like John Collins, which I'm not a fan of. But like, I think this is coming back. So I have a feeling that making the Western Conference Finals might end up biting us in the ass quite badly, because you've seen it with past teams. Like the Hawks made the Western Conference Finals, the Nuggets did, the Trailblazers did, and they've all just kind of stagnated. And especially with a team like us, who our roster wasn't even as talented overall as their rosters were, I'm just worried that we kind of lead in the same way of going like, oh, we were right on the doorstep. We're so close. Like, let's make an all-in trade now. Let's give away all of our future pieces. I just think the best way to do it is to not rush, like we've seen the Hawks do when they traded away their 3 first-round picks for DeJounte Murray, and now they're just in mediocrity. Like, we just can't do that. We can't afford another Kristaps Porzingis piece that doesn't work out. So I don't know what the overall vibe of the Mavs group at the moment is, but I'm very much wanting to reserve, at least for this season and maybe this off season, just kind of hold out a bit to see what we're doing and maybe clear some space off the books, because at the moment we're just not in a place to go all in, and I feel like if we do it, that could just be kicking Luka out the door, and I'm just so worried it could happen.
I mean, I think that's right. I think when Luka gave an interview to a local television affiliate, and everybody did the thing where we read too much into like Luka's posture, Luka's answers, and most of his answers were pretty good. Most of his answers seem to where it's not like he's looking to leave, is I think where I fall. But this becomes much more of a, can the Mavericks build a competitive team around him? And when I go down these rabbit holes, the James Harden comps and things like that, those Houston Rocket teams. Now, granted, Harden didn't even go to the Rockets till he was 23. So it's a different situation. But those teams turned over every stone to figure out how to build around him in a way that would work. It didn't work, but that doesn't mean they didn't try everything. I think our sort of concern at the moment is that everything the Mavericks tried the past 4 years it's not that they were necessarily bad. It's just they haven't worked out. And so it's making it's making me and a lot of us a little uncomfortable, because there is, I wrote about this 3 weeks ago. There is no easy solution. This is just going to be a slog of a season. And I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see it at the moment.
Yeah, I totally get that. My hope is that we don't, I'm just using John Collins as an example because, there's a rumor, the rumor was going around or whatever, but some not max worthy player on the max for the next couple years, like a Tobias Harris sort of contract. If we put in a trade for someone like that, where we're even letting go of Wood, I understand the whole asset management thing about Wood's probably going to leave, but I'm almost at the point where having a terrible long-term contract like Porzingis, that was a negative as well. Like, I don't see the positive in just putting 2 small contracts together to go like, oh, let's at least keep something on the books, because we haven't done anything with those ones that are on the book. I don't trust it. It almost turns into more of a negative than a positive. And so I understand where people are coming from when they're talking about wanting to, have asset management and not lose Wood for nothing. But I would much rather lose him for nothing than get on the books for a crappy contract forever.
Sure. I mean, we're about to find out.
Yeah.
Man.
It'll be an interesting couple of months.
Well, thanks so much, buddy. We'll talk soon, all right?
That's all I have, man. All right, see ya.
Yep, bye. All right, guys. This has been fun. More fun than, I was not really feeling it just because I'm tired, but always loves talking with you guys. We'll be back here on Wednesday night. Check out Mavs Moneyball. We got a number of weird and fun things going up tomorrow. All right, guys. Have a better Tuesday, and we will talk Wednesday.